We're back with our guest, Taylor Jackson. He is a policy analyst and research manager at the Hub. Taylor, again, trying to dissect our productivity losses or lack of gains, I suppose. You also mentioned, we were also talking earlier about a decline in entrepreneurship. I guess my question is, are Canadians just less entrepreneurial than our American cousins, or are there some policy reasons that you think are impacting on this?
That's a good question. I can't speak to the comparison exactly. I'd have to look into that. But I think there are some questions, some deep questions about why it's in decline. Why aren't people taking risks? So I do think the pandemic had an effect here, and that's probably some of the decline. People lost their businesses. They had to shift out of their small businesses as those declined. So the question is, why isn't it returning to the same amount that we saw pre-pandemic? Can we look at things? I mean, this would be very recent, but what effect is the new capital gains tax increase going to have on entrepreneurship? That willingness to take a risk. Some of the pushback we've seen from the business community, from doctors, et cetera, who put their life savings into their businesses and then want to sell that asset later in life, they're going to now take a larger tax hit on that. In fact, we had an analysis at the Hub by Canadian economist Jack Mintz, the University of Calgary, who I think conclusively showed that, we shouldn't think of the people who are realizing these large gains as the wealthy. Often they tend to have middle-class salaries. In fact, 50% have less than $117,000 in income a year when you strip out that gain. These are people who sold their business. They had modest incomes throughout that period. It can also be people who sold their cottage, but we can't strip away who that is. It's not just the wealthy. It is middle-class entrepreneurs, business owners. We should have a conversation about ways to support entrepreneurship in this country. We need a culture of entrepreneurship, a culture of growth. I like to quip sometimes that Canada's national culture is one of comfortable mediocrity. We're doing okay, and okay is often good enough. I think we need a culture of striving, of wanting to invest, put that time, put that risk, put that capital, put that energy
that's kind of my
into
point.
Businesses.
Yeah, no, but that's my point, that it seems to be a cultural issue as well as just a straight dollars and cents or numbers issue.
I think it could be, and culture is honestly harder to change than policy. But we do see these areas, right? There's a lot of exciting business development happening in places like Calgary, even post the oil boom and that city getting revitalized.
Right.
So I think it's possible, but yeah, we should be striving for more. We should be striving for better. We shouldn't just accept the way things are, and we should have a culture that's acceptant of people taking risks.
I've got to mention the elephant in the room because you did. There's also the issue of the nature of our population growth, not population growth per se, but how it's being done that might be having an effect as well. Can you elaborate on that, please?
I think so. So this is something we did look at in the article, and we have seen quite a rapid population growth. And so if you think of real GDP per capita, there's a per capita component. And part of the stagnation is that our GDP is growing slower than our population. This explains partly why real GDP per capita is falling. So in the most recent years, our population growth is over 3%. This is far and away ahead of what we would see for an advanced developing country. And of course, it's largely, almost completely driven by immigration. So there do need, I think, to be some serious questions about the nature of the immigration system for Canada moving forward, and are we seeing those economic benefits? I think it's well established that there can be strong economic benefits from immigration, particularly from immigration of high-skilled migrants. But under the current federal government, that skill mixture has started to change quite a bit. It's not so much high-skilled migrants disproportionately representing Canada's migration shares. Now we're starting to see much more of a lower skilled component.
In terms of the intake of individuals. So You're
Exactly.
saying that's part of the issue. It's not only the volume, but it's the type of people we're accepting.
Exactly. And, if you think of the large increase in temporary migrant workers, those
Right.
tend to be for lower skilled positions. And this could also have productivity consequences in terms of firms are able to use lower skilled labor and don't have to invest the same
Right.
dollars in capital.